Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. Sunday Night Football is the marquee time slot for the NFL on TV, and it's not hard to see why. Heck, Harry Underwood sings it every week. We truly have been waiting all day for Sunday night. After watching 7 straight hours of football and bouncing around between different games and whatnot, this is the one time of the day where we, as NFL fans, feel united. We're all watching the same game, all gathered around our TVs, and are all watching two of the best teams in football go at it in front of a national television audience, with over 18 million people on average tuned in to watch the final game of the Sunday slate. And for Week 8, on October 29th, what was the game that we got? The Chicago Bears against the Los Angeles Chargers? Really? Yeah, the game itself was a bloodbath, with the Chargers winning 30-13 in a game that never even felt the slightest bit close. And a game that never, not for 1 second, did you ever think the Bears had a chance at winning. But bad games happen, and there's nothing that the league can do about that, short of just outright rigging the contest, which we all don't want to have happen. Look, Cowboys 49ers a few weeks ago was projected to be an incredible game, and the 49ers won that one 42-10. Blowouts and ugly games happen. But it's the fact that this game was on Sunday Night Football in the first place. In one corner, you had a Chicago Bears team that was basically out of it, that entered the game at 2-5, that had an undrafted quarterback out of Division II starting the game because the starting quarterback was injured, and was injured far enough in advance that you knew this was going to happen, and had the second worst defense in the conference. In the other corner, you had a Los Angeles Chargers team that was also basically out of it, that entered this game with a 2-4 record, that had lost 2 straight games, and that was being led by one of the worst coaches in all of football. This was a horrible matchup to put on prime time, and if this was a regular game, and not a Sunday night game, this would be a game that gets assigned Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma. This was not a marquee game by any means. And the ratings reflected that. No one wanted to watch these two awful teams duke it out, as the game, despite going up against no significant counter-programming, drew just 12.5 million viewers, which was easily the worst total of the season, and was down roughly 33% on the season average. But hey, I'm sure that's the worst matchup we'll see this season on Sunday night, and things are going to get a heck of a lot better. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Yep, that's right. Despite the fact that NBC had the option of flexing out the game, and despite the fact that there were definitely better options available, they left the game in here between the New York Jets and the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, at least I might be able to get a good Dumb Decisions episode out of this from Josh McDaniels. Oh, come on! That was like the one reason I had to watch this game. He's gone? He's fired? Why? I mean, I get it. The man couldn't coach to save his life. But why must you do this to me? Anyways, you have a Jets team led by Zach Wilson, who just played a game that featured 15 punts in the first half and 24 punts total. Because that's fun to watch. Going up against a Raiders team that is so bad that they just fire their coach. That is 3-5 and is basically out of the hunt. And that has lost a whopping 8 of their last 11 games dating back to last season. And yet, this is the marquee matchup. This is the matchup we're supposed to be waiting all day for Sunday night for. The NFL has a massive Sunday Night Football problem. Now, this video is not just me ranting about how some of these matchups look abysmal, including the Vikings-Broncos game on Sunday Night Football in Week 11. Trust me, that serves us no purpose. But it's about examining 2 things. What is the root of the problem, and what can be done to fix it? Because it's not as simple as it might seem. Ever since Sunday Night Football moved to NBC in 2006, the NFL introduced something called flex scheduling. The idea behind flex scheduling is simple. NBC can, at their discretion, move a game into Sunday Night Football and take off the game originally scheduled in order to put something better on. You paid all this money to broadcast NFL games, and you're stuck with 2, 4, and 8 teams late in the season? Yeah, we'll give you a better game. And flex scheduling has been done many times to take off games that may have looked good at the start of the season, but for one reason or another, looked terrible by the time we got closer. NBC has 12 days to announce a change, in order to give everyone enough time to repair and make the necessary adjustments. And they can flex the game as many times as they want from week 11 on. Although with certain limitations, they can flex the game beginning in week 5. Heck, last year, they used flex scheduling 4 times, taking out a game involving a 5-10 Los Angeles Rams team, and taking out a game involving a 3-9 Denver Broncos team, for example. Alright, so we've established that NBC can flex out games that aren't that attractive at the time. So what seems to be the problem? Is NBC just stupid? Are they naive? Well, not quite, because NBC has some limitations with what games they can flex. The obvious flaw, if they could just flex out any game that they so desired, is that the other 2 networks that televise games on Sundays, CBS and FOX, would be completely screwed. Imagine if you're Fox, and you've been hyping up the fact that you've got a great NFC East battle in the national window between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. You're expecting massive ratings for that game. Then, NBC comes along and just does this.
Hold it right there, man. I'll be taking that.
You get why that would be a problem and would be massively unfair. So the rule is that each week, each of the networks get to protect one game. CBS gets to protect their best game, and Fox gets to protect their best game. After each network protects their best game, NBC can come in and have the leftovers. So in essence, they're not choosing the best game, but rather the third best game, or maybe the second best game. Is the third best game better than the game that NBC has right now? And I have no problem with this at all. This would be wildly unfair to CBS and to Fox if NBC could just take whatever game they wanted from them. And in theory, the idea that a network gets to protect one game is good. Where the problem comes in is what's happening in something like Week 10. Let's look at the schedule for Week 10 and you'll see what I mean. In Week 10, Fox has the doubleheader. So they have a 1 o'clock game and then the national 4:25 game. So the entire country will be getting 2 Fox games that week and just 1 CBS game. The best time slot in terms of ratings and in terms of the marquee game is the 4:25 late window. What's the big game that Fox has there? What's the game that Fox is going to send their number 1 crew over for? Because that's the one that will get the most coverage across the country. That is the game between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. 2 big market teams from the NFC East. And with one of those teams being really good this year and having the largest fan base in the country. So seeing what we've already established, you would think that Fox would protect this game, right? The whole purpose of having networks protect games is to be able to protect their moneymakers. So Fox would protect this game, and NBC could pick any other game that Fox has. However, Fox did not protect that game. Even though flex scheduling was designed for that purpose to be able to protect, if you have a doubleheader, your national 4:25 game, they decided not to do that. Why? They basically dared NBC to flex that game in over Jets Raiders. The Giants and the Cowboys played each other in Week 1 on Sunday Night Football, and that game was a complete disaster, with the Cowboys winning 40-0 in one of the worst Sunday night games of all time. The Giants are not good this season. They're 2-6. Fox dared NBC by saying, "Come on, we know you have this game already. We know it was terrible. Do it again." And obviously, NBC didn't do it. They didn't flex in Giants-Cowboys, because why the heck would they do that, knowing everything we know about the Giants and how the first game went earlier on their network? It's almost like playing against someone in basketball who doesn't like shooting 3-pointers, and will never take a shot that's not right by the hoop. So you leave him wide open on the arc and say, "Come on, I dare you to try this shot. I'll give it to you if you want it," and it doesn't happen. Instead, Fox protected the objectively better game, which was this game right here between the San Francisco 49ers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, I'm not even speaking as a Jags fan here. A game between a 5-3 49ers team that just got Chase Young and a 6-2 Jags team, as in two really good teams that made it to the Elite Eight last season, if you want to call it that, is a better game than a Zach Wilson-led Jets team against a below 500 Raiders team that just fired its head coach and has been on prime time 3 times already. If I'm biased for saying that, so be it. But Fox decided to protect that game, meaning that not only do they get to keep their marquee 1 o'clock game, but based on how the schedule worked out, they get to keep their marquee 4:25 game. They gamed the system, and gamed it brilliantly, but this was in no way the spirit of what this was supposed to be about. And the scary part is that in Week 11, when CBS has a doubleheader of games, I could see them doing the exact same thing. Here's the schedule for Week 11. In Week 11, the Vikings play the Broncos, and that is just a brutal game on paper. The Vikings are 4-4 and will be led by Josh Dobbs, and the Broncos are 3-5 and are not that good. That game is a shoo-in to get flexed out, right? Well, not quite. Because let's look at the CBS slate of games. Looking at that schedule when CBS has a doubleheader, they have 6 games that week. Of the 6, 4 of them have no shot at getting flexed. I can't see them putting Seahawks-Rams in there the way the Rams have looked as of late. And obviously, Cardinals-Texans, Titans-Jaguars, and Raiders-Dolphins are completely off the table. So you've got 2 games that are candidates, with those being the AFC East battle between the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills, and the AFC North battle between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. In an ideal world, you would say, okay, CBS protects one of the games, and NBC gets the other. But this is where the problem lies. The Jets were on Sunday Night Football in Week 10 against the Raiders. You think NBC wants to put the Jets on Sunday Night Football in back-to-back weeks? CBS might do the same thing that Fox did and say, alright NBC, I dare ya. Put Zach Wilson on primetime twice in a row. See how well that works out for you. Put the same team on Sunday Night Football in back-to-back weeks, which has never been done before when it occurs before the final few weeks of the season. I'm sure your audience will love that. On top of that, they might not even be allowed to put the Jets on primetime that week, because the Jets are playing the Black Friday game in Week 12, so that would be 3 straight nationally televised games. And even if that's not an issue, the Jets are playing the Bills on the road, so they wouldn't make it back to their home until early Monday morning if they played a Sunday Night Football game. So you're giving them a short week as it is, and now they would have a competitive disadvantage going into Friday's game. And because of that, CBS might protect Steelers-Browns, leaving Jets-Bills completely unprotected, knowing that NBC wouldn't put Jets-Bills on Sunday night. See what the problem is? In theory, the idea that each network gets to protect one game is fine, and then NBC gets whatever is left. But in actuality, that's not what happens. In actuality, you have these networks completely gaming the system to make it so they protect 2 or 3 games at a time, protecting the games that NBC might actually flex, and leaving unprotected the games that are good but they know that NBC would not flex, either because that team is playing on Sunday Night Football next week, or they played on it last week, or because it wouldn't be allowed due to a competitive disadvantage, like a Sunday night team playing on Thursday, or because they already aired that game once already if it was within the division. It's genius! I'm not blaming CBS or Fox for gaming the system like this at all, because it makes complete sense. But it's coming at a significant hindrance to the product, and leaves us stuck with a bunch of crappy matchups on Sunday Night Football that have no business being there and really can't get flexed out. Which raises the ultimate question, because all of this whining and complaining means nothing if I don't answer it. How the heck do we fix this? How do we fix this in a way that seems completely fair to the networks and that seems entirely realistic? Because like I said, the solution is not to get rid of all the protections, because that would not be fair. But I think there definitely could be some give and take with a network that has the doubleheader. Here's my solution. If you have the single header game that week, So if you're a network that's only airing one game on a given Sunday, nothing changes. You get to protect whatever game you want. However, if you have the doubleheader, so you have a 1 o'clock game and you have America's Game of the Week airing at 4:25, you can only protect any games in the America's Game of the Week window. You want to protect your marquee game at 4:25 that is going to be shown to a large share of the country, probably upwards of 80% depending on the matchup? Go for it. But a 1 o'clock game that's going to be split across the country and be heavily regionalized? Nope, can't do that. Now you can flex one of those 1 o'clock games to 4:25 if you want, but the moment you leave that game at the early window, it's automatically unprotected. As an example, if Fox said, hypothetically, we want to protect the 49ers-Jaguars game, so we'll move that from 1 o'clock to 4:25, that's fine. And obviously, there would be stipulations saying that a network must have X number of games in the early window. So you can't just game the system by having 4 games at 4:25 and 2 at 1 o'clock. But that seems, in theory, like the best solution to the problem. CBS and Fox get to protect their marquee game in the national window being shown to a large portion of the country, but they don't get to game the system and protect what would be a regionalized 1 o'clock game and protect just about everything under the sun, so that NBC truly has nothing to choose from. And I just want to emphasize, this has nothing to do with the fact that the game between these two teams behind me right here, the Jaguars and the 49ers, is not getting moved to Sunday Night Football. Actually, as a Jags fan, it works out better. I'm so conditioned to playing those early games that just getting it out of the way makes more sense to me. Plus, it works out better for the Jaguars from a competitive standpoint, because now this is a 10 o'clock a.m. start time for the 49ers, and that's always brutal. So it has nothing to do with that. It's more the fact that these primetime games have just been brutal this year, and we have the safeguards in place to change that, but we're not doing it because the safeguards are clearly not working. It's almost like how the whole purpose of the 19th Amendment was to prevent alcohol sales. But actually, during the time of Prohibition, alcohol sales per capita actually went up. So it didn't make a difference. The rule did not help things at all, so they had to scrap it. And that's what has to happen here. These current rules are not working. The flex scheduling rule is clearly not working the way it's supposed to be. So let's scrap it and create something else. Is this the right solution? Can I see the NFL implementing this? I don't know. Again, this is just me spitballing, and I have no inside source or knowledge or anything like that. And if you have a better solution, let me know in the comments down below. But what I do know is this. The current system is not working. Any system that has Bears, Chargers, and Jets, Raiders locked in for Sunday night games, as in the marquee time slot, even with safeguards in place, is not working. Any system that may likely prevent Broncos Vikings from getting flexed out is not working. The current system is broken. The ratings reflect that. And now, it's time to fix it. Because at this point, we're not waiting all day for Sunday night to watch some football. We're waiting all day for Sunday night to get some early sleep. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.